This is the final game on board 2 in this afternoon UK Open session. And it is between two big characters of the sport. Amazingly, we were looking at Scott Williams' record during the break from the last game. This is his UK Open debut. He didn't play last year because he wasn't a Challenge Tour qualifier, didn't have a tour card either. But 2022 was a year that belonged to Scott Williams. If you were to put in your sort of top 10 performers, top 10 stories, Williams would be in there, no question. Jelle Klaasen has been a few years without a tour card now, but he is here by virtue of his performances on the Challenge Tour from last year. This game is going to be swift, to say the least, between two very, very watchable players and watchable characters. Scott Williams deciding to go for the sensible trousers and footwear today. Jelle Klaasen in that distinctive polo shirt. Paul Nicholson, it's been a hugely enjoyable day of action on board 2 so far. I get the feeling we may have saved the best till last.
I like to think so, Dan. I just wonder what we are going to get from this one. There are some guarantees and a lot of variables. Guarantees being a winner, best of 11 legs, but variables being 180s finishes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First leg, Scott to throw first.
And whoever wins it is going to feel really good about their chances going into the later stages. But one thing we can tell you is that Josh Rock is not in the hat later. He's been beaten by Luke Woodhouse.
Jelle Klaasen started with a perfect visit. I'm just wondering whether, when that draw was made, whether Luke Woodhouse would have quite liked playing Josh Rock, given that he'd be the clear underdog in that.
Some people like playing the underdog, that's for sure.
Well, Scott Williams last year on the Pro Tour was an underdog, but quickly it was determined that he was a very, very good player, winning a Pro Tour title without a tour card, joining a very exclusive club. Christoph Ratajski and Joe Mernon, also members of that. He's not had an ideal start to the year. He's only won 2 games on the Pro Tour, hasn't qualified for any of the first 4 Euro Tours either. But there is a lot of time on his side. Not so much in this leg.
Good start from Klaasen, isn't it? Double 16.
That's
not a good start. That's a great start.
Classy Klaasen.
Don't start that.
Come on, it's the last game of the afternoon.
You're going to start sounding like Stuart Pike saying classy, classy, crossy.
I won't go that far.
Well, Jelle Klaasen is here because of the Challenge Tour Order of Merit from 2022, and he only squeaked into the last spot. Ultimately, it was the second last spot because the person behind him, Lucas Venig, was invited too, as Dave Pallett could not attend. But he's taken full advantage of it so far, and he has not been tested today either. He's taken out Josh Payne on the main stage by 6 legs to 2, averaging 92.6. After that, Ricardo Pietreczko 6-1 with an almost 95 average. Considering what he's done away from the PDC this year already, he's in form.
Well, it was only on Saturday that he won finals night at the Modus Super Series, beating Jack Main in that final. He's a player that has kind of embraced, really, not having a tour card. It's not been the end of the world for him. He's found darts to play here, there and everywhere, and he's still popping up in PDC events occasionally. He can play currently playing on the Challenge Tour as well.
Do you know what, Dan? We are going to find out over the next 6 months who is going to follow in the footsteps of Chaz Barstow and Scott Williams from the last 2 years. 2 players who have revelled in the fact that they haven't had cards, but have still had blockbuster seasons. Who's it going to be in 2023? It's got a nice ring to it, hasn't it?
There are contenders there. I mean, Thibaut Trickle currently tops the list, so he's going to be the filler inner for Pro Tours until the next set of Challenge Tour events.
I like filler inner, by the way. Fill the top, Jelle.
92. Scott, you require 76.
So for an immediate break back. Oh, tops.
56.
He was a bit nearer to the 8 than he'd like.
20.
How close is this to the double 10? You don't need me to
James
tell you.
second leg.
Just listen to Russ Bray.
Klaasen. Third leg's got
2-0
the throw
Klaasen.
first. Game on.
If he's in the hat later at the expense of Williams, just imagine the kind of draws that Klaasen could get. He could possibly get a game against Gary Anderson, who beat him in a World Championship semi-final.
Hit the 9-darter in that game as well.
I'm not getting too ahead of myself. I know that Williams can scrap, but he knows from the very second that he found out he was playing Klaasen that this was a particularly sticky wicket.
59.
And particularly as well, given the fact that he's not played well so far this year. If he came into this tournament with, you know, a couple of quarterfinals, semi-finals, a few Euro tours, I don't think he'd have cared who he plays. But there is that little bit of vulnerability maybe now with Williams.
Maybe the tiniest bit, but I think the key to Williams breaking through this year into better stages of tournaments is to keep playing, keep hitting. And that's a good dart, it just didn't hit.
86. Yellow, you require 100.
These are the 3 sensational darts if they go. For the bull. They're denied a big fish in the last game of this afternoon session.
52.
Jelle Klaasen's had his Weetabix though.
36.
I smell trouble
Yellow,
ahead
you require 25.
for Williams. Klaasen goes for 4s. And if he does have a weakness in his game, and he would admit this, is that he doesn't put his opponents away quick enough when he's got shots like that in matches. He's done it predominantly over the last few years. But if you look at Jelle's career, he's had some ups and downs, of course, but he still keeps himself in pretty good shape. Still plays an awful lot, practices a lot, and still revels in the challenge.
He's a 2-time Premier League player. You don't get called up for that if you can't play darts.
The second time he played the Premier League, his right wrist was the colour of his shirt because he desperately needed surgery, but he said, I'm not doing it until the end of the Premier League. And by the time he was under the knife, that wrist, oh my word, I couldn't even look at it.
Yeah, that was back in 2017.
58.
Did reach the quarterfinals of the UK Open back in 2020, Jelle Klaasen.
58.
Lost to Daryl Gurney in a last leg decider.
Yeah, that was a really good game. Gurney was pretty much towards his height right then. Premier League player and really confident. Maybe one of his biggest PDC wins was in the 2016 UK Open, which I'll reference in a second, because he's now 3-1 up. Doesn't squander that chance. I just want to have a little bit of perspective here, because there's a logo on Jelle's left sleeve, which remembers our good friend Kyle Anderson. They were very good pals. And back in 2016, Jelle and Kyle actually played in the quarterfinals of this tournament in Minehead. And Jelle won 10-0. It was a strange old game. Kyle averaged over 90. But Jelle was almost 99 in winning 10 legs in a row.
60.
You don't see a huge number of wins to nil. Not in a 1st to 10 race, anyway. I've seen 5 of them in games today across the first 3 rounds.
Spare a thought for Jamie Caven a few years ago. I think it was 2016, same year. Jamie lost to Michael van Gerwen at the match play 10-0. The following week, Michael beat Jamie again 6-0 in the Euro Tour. So he beat him 16-0 in 2 weeks. And I think Jamie Caven's face at that point was one of, just go away, Michael.
But he never did.
78.
Luke Littler 2-all against Richie Edhouse, but he's averaging 102.5.
No surprise on my face.
Ed House only on 90. Ted Everts 4-3 up on going roll-offs. Mario van den Behada 2-1 up against Adam Gavlas. Another 170 attempt. This time can't get the second one done.
And not many spaces left in the hat. Only one more from this stage. Going 16s.
84.
But to no effect.
Jelle, you require 65.
Bolshy from Scott Williams. 13 for tops.
45. Scott,
It's
you
conceivable
require
that Klaasen could be 5-0 up.
Game
But he's
shot
not.
in the
He's
fifth
only
leg.
3-2 up.
Scott Williams, sixth leg, Jelle.
In games like this where they're a very similar standard, you'd have to say that. Small margins are magnified.
23.
It's not only conceivable, he should be 5-0 up. He should be. There's no question about that.
He will think that because he expects to hit every single double he goes for when there's nothing in the way.
I mean, right now, there's a 15-point disparity in the averages.
60.
Klaasen 95, Scott Williams on 80 and change. It's been not the best display from him, but this will liven him up.
121.
I'll leave that to you as to whether that was the right time for a no-look 180.
96.
Maybe when you're a dart ahead. But I think he might have gotten away with it. That's why we love him, though. He's just so entertaining. Whether you love him or dislike him, well, I don't care, because I really like him.
Scott Williams, he does what he wants.
42.
That'd be a nice chant, that, actually. We need some new darts chants. It's a bit of a Rob Cross route, that one. 18's first on 146.
70.
Yeah, he'll clearly be
76.
rubbing off on him because they do like to play, they do like to practice together.
Played each other at the World Championship, didn't they? What a game that was. And that's a lovely setup.
60.
Steering clear of that treble 20 was the right thing to do. Are we looking at a double 6? Is it? That would have been for a level game.
Well, I said that Rob Cross was rubbing off on
Jelle,
Scott
you
Williams.
require
Jelle
20.
Klaasen 2.
Game shot in the sixth
He tidies
leg.
up.
Jelle Klaasen. Seventh leg. Scott to throw first. Game on.
That was a somewhat whirlwind 30 seconds, wasn't it? And I think Scott might have been put off by the fact that he wasn't going for double 16. He had to reset for double 6. I just wonder what would have happened if he had left 32 instead of 12.
93.
That design on the back of Jelle's shirt has got me perplexed a little bit. I don't know what that shape's all about. It's almost like he's trying to have a game of blockbusters, but he got the shape wrong. You don't even know what blockbusters is, do you?
I know what blockbusters is.
Oh, that's all right then.
Yeah,
I haven't lost
I just want to have a.
34.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, they're not. They need to be joined together a bit more.
Yeah.
140.
The kind of shape you'd get in Candy Crush or something. Oh, this is wonderful. It's better than wonderful.
74.
Klaasen crushing Williams in this leg. Downstairs. Oh, maybe not.
Well, he didn't run the risk of not leaving a 2-darter, but obviously he was trying to leave 21. Oh boy, that's brilliant from Klaasen. That's 274 in 5. Wow, just like what we saw from Hempel earlier. He had 275 in 5.
Scott Williams is almost playing like a man who thinks, yeah, he's playing better than me. I'll get the crowd on my side. I'll entertain them.
58.
I had the audacity to say that if somebody was practicing watching this, that they wouldn't be able to get 275 and 5, and then somebody else gets the next door neighbour of it. That's the kind of quality we've had on board 2 this afternoon. It's been sensational.
100.
Klaasen really has been outstanding in this game. Rolling back the years, you could say,
56.
although that might be a little bit unkind. He's only 38 years old. There's still a lot of mileage in his career.
Yeah, he's easily got another 10 years in him before he thinks about the seniors. Performance of the round, though, I think you'd have to give it to Luke Woodhouse. He averaged 103.3 in beating Josh Rock. But this from Klaasen has been, at times, irresistible.
133.
And a good leg this from Williams against the throw, but don't think Jelle's going to panic.
37. Scott, you require 7.
Don't leave double six. Well done. Now you need fours. And that was needed, because if he missed that, he could have been out of the tournament.
9 legs, Scott to throw.
Plenty of life in this game just yet.
Hails from one of the biggest counties in England, in Lincolnshire, from the town of Boston. And that is the way you start the fight back. With that maximum, he'd love another. It is a somewhat unusual setup he has with that bulbous barrel and that big flight. You don't see people using that kind of setup a lot. But then again, Jelle Klaasen's darts have got more intricacies than a heart operation.
Yeah, it's a bulbous barrel, big flights, quite a long point. And it's a recipe he's found that works for him.
91. Scott, you require 161.
Don't leave him on the baby fish. So it is a doable chance for Klaasen to get this done.
That had Rob Cross's DNA written all over it, that.
They require 130.
Another one. Oh.
90.
Well, the first dart was so inviting. I mean, even for a single. It's a real error from Jelle. And it's punished.
And it means that he didn't get a match dart there. Williams is doing a very good job at the minute of making sure that Klaasen does not get a match dart. Whether it's because of his brilliance or because Klaasen has missed a single. And he's kicking brilliantly.
See, Scott, that's what you can do when you look at the board when you throw your third dart.
Sound advice from Dan McCarthy there. Look at the board.
44.
If me and Scott Williams had a leg of 501, I think he'd win though, so he'd turn around.
Yeah, but by how much?
Between sort of 400 and 450, maybe.
You're not giving yourself much of a chance there, Dan.
100.
Klaasen has got to give himself a chance. There is a possibility here that Williams might shut him out. The scoring in the last couple of, well, 2.5 legs has been so good.
Well, this is where we'll learn quite a lot about Scott Williams this year. He was riding the crest of a wave the whole of last year. Things will get trickier for him, there's no question about that. It's how he deals with it, and he's dealing with this very admirably. That dart aside.
That visit went from awful to okay. Can he close out Klaasen again?
64.
Well, to send us to a last leg decider and become favourite for the match. Double 16.
Game show in the 10th leg.
Wins it with such authority. We are going to a last leg decider. I could be right, we may well have saved the best till last.
I have no doubt in my mind that we have. This has been sensational, this game. And the fact that Williams is now throwing for it is bonkers. He was being taken out by Klaasen and his brilliance earlier. But from 5-2, Williams has found something.
Yeah, I don't really think that Jelle Klaasen's performance has dropped off a great deal. It's just that Scott Williams has got into turbocharge mode.
He's gone into padlock mode. He's just completely locked him out.
Klaasen has picked the lock, maybe.
This game, it should have more legs. You get these games every now and again. Oh, and it might finish with a big fish. It's not up to Klaasen. No matter what he does, he will have to dodge a shot.
100. Scott,
For the match then. Go on, Scott, someone shouts in the crowd. Oh, come on.
Oh no. Oh no.
Jelle require
Even a single 19 would have been better than that. Klaasen does not get a match dart at the bullseye.
63.
Can Williams
Scott, you
finish with an
require
uppercut?
140.
No. Not yet, anyway.
60. Jelle, you
Surely he's getting his match start now. He's getting 2.
Game, shot.
What a game that was. And what a fight back from Scott Williams. He's got every right to feel disappointed about going out in round 3. But Klaasen paved the way to a match start after a few good leaves in that match. Ultimately, the 2006 World Champion will be in the hat and will be in the commentary box as well from 7 o'clock. Board 2 will promise much. Stick with us for later. Enjoy your couple of hours off like we will. We'll see you at 7 o'clock.